My apologies. It is not Damien Bresic that's going to be joining us. It's going to be John Gagro, the president of Hurstville, and he's going to be joining us as part of this week's Club in Focus. And he joins us on the show, on the Oscrow Soccer Show. John, how are you? It's absolute pleasure to have you on the show tonight.
Evening, John. Thanks for having us on, boys. Thanks for those kind words, Joseph, about our club and the tournaments when we always come all the time. So thanks.
No, I've just always been in awe and appreciate it. So, mate, nothing to. It's all on you guys. You've done a great job in harnessing the community.
No worries. Thank you.
Yeah, John. Thanks to Oscrow Imports who have nominated Zagreb Hurstville as our club in focus. But mate, you've been around for a long time as a player, as a coach. Now president. Your dad was heavily involved in the early days, mate. For a lot of the people that aren't familiar with Zagreb Hurstville, let's go right back and tell us a little bit about the history of the club.
Yeah, well, basically, it was probably formed in 1970. The funny thing is, I live in this suburb called Bexley, and they used to gather in this park just a couple of kilometres away where it all started. And from then onwards, it just sort of accumulated and sort of grew through the area. It used to be a little bit more towards the city, but now it's grown towards more to the south of Sydney. We're basically based here at Cars Park. That's probably a Cobra Bay. So that's our base there where most of our training's done and where we're always at. Yeah, so that's basically the history of it as it's gone through in the sense of when it all started, do you mean? So that's about it really there.
Now, apparently, a very famous surname sake of mine was involved in the club was one of the initial presidents, Nikola Prusac, who, by the way, no relation to myself, but a great man in the Sydney Croatian community. He was the original president, is that right?
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, pretty sure he was. He was involved very much so. You know, he's the one who actually brought me to the club. You mean? I first started down to 16s, and then I went off to United, and I sort of made it to a sort of higher level. And one day I was sitting in my garage working on my car, and he came in, and 3 or 4 of my mates gathered us in, and from then onwards, I've never looked back. And that's way back in the late 80s. So yeah, so he's one of the founders. Yeah, Nicola's still around. His son Tommy's coaching our boys, girls. And he plays over 45s, so he's very much involved in our club as well. Yeah. So Nicola's going well, and it's pretty good. Yeah.
Good stuff, Josip.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, John. With the position of the club from where it was, it started off naturally as a lot of the clubs have. You know, starts off with the men's representation and starts to grow into junior football. Where does this sit currently in terms of its playing numbers and stocks? And I know that you have the St. George FA component as well as the NPL. From the outside looking in, and it's been a while since I've been in Sydney and in and around the football circle particularly, but it looks like it's really exploded in terms of your numbers.
Yes, yes, it has. Well, maybe 6 years ago, 7 years ago, we had sort of like 2 components. We had our NPL sort of committee, we had our association committee, and we joined it together and we formed a new committee and a new board sort of thing to start that off. And I'll have to say maybe that 6 years ago or so, we probably had about 120 associations, St. George Association. NPL probably had its first grade 20s and 18s. And now we're basically in our association NPL together. And what our secretary just told me today, the amount of people registering on board, we could be all together up somewhere around about maybe 550 all up with the NPL program. And our association is basically based from under 6s all the way to 45s, our PL boys, girls program, girls. That's the biggest thing that's grown mostly in our area is the women's football and the girls football. It's just crazy.
I was going to ask that. Do you have maybe a breakdown of if it's 50-50, 40-60 split between the boys and the girls?
Well, maybe from the age of 6 to the age of 16, it's very much how do I say to you, maybe 60-40. The girls are just loaded in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And they're very successful, to tell you the truth. They're very good. Not say the boys ain't. We've got our 45s, 35s all age. We've got also our Premier League boys coached by Richard Plesher, which is also our vice president. Yeah, that's
good on him. Oh, really? Vice president? Oh, good on him.
Yeah, Richard's vice president. Yeah, he's very good, and he's coaching those boys. Richard's been involved now for 10 years in the club. It's very much been that. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's always great to see players come back and put their hands up for the committee roles. It's I know we're lucky at North Geelong. We've got people from, former players and even former internationals are part of the committee today. But, it really is. I love hearing those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Now, Richard was well known, having played for many, many years with Sydney Croatia in the old NSL. There are a lot of players that have gone from through the ranks of Zagreb Hurstville onto bigger and better things. And I think a lot of viewers would be very surprised just how many. Mate, off the top of your head, and this putting you on the spot, let's go through some of the players that have gone on to bigger and better things that have started at Zagreb Hurstville as juniors.
Yeah, well, there's a fair bit. Probably the most recent one you have to say is Tommy Uric. He's the most recent one. And as you know, his brother Danny is now signed for Dinamo. He also was a junior of ours. Yes, that's two. And probably the other one is Ante Chovic. He's also as well there. His young boy is also playing in our NPL program as well. We're going to try to get him on board next year, to sort of help us out as well. This year he couldn't. Then you look at people probably like Ante Milicic and Mark Rudin. And we'll know where they're coaching now. So they also play, I think it's more, maybe sort of Ollie Bruce. I'm not too sure. Maybe that sort of situation there. You've got Richie Plesher, who's, like I said, involved with our club now as well as vice president, and also does a lot of things. And also you've got Joe Vrikic. He's also coaching there as well, part of our programs down there with our youth kids.
There's a photo there of a young Ante Chovic on screen. He must be 8 years of age or something like that, but he's got that.
I was talking to him the other day, and he stands next to you, he's a head taller, I'll tell you that much. Yeah. Ante did play for our first grade team. He got scouted playing for our first grade team, and from then on he played like with the normal New South Wales NPL 1. Then up to, I think, Newcastle and up to Greece, and whatever happens, and you can see where he came from there. Wanderers and for Australia. He's a great guy, but He's really approachable and things like that. Who else is Mark Babic?
Mark Babic, that's right. Yeah.
Mark Babic. Who else is there? Eddie Bosner played for us a little bit as well. And I said the things like that. That's about much I can remember. Ante Moric, the young Ollie Roos, Ante Moric as well. Yeah, there's a fair bit there. We've also had other players who maybe sort of plays other areas and not that side, to NPL levels and things like that. Yeah, mostly the big ones that did for us as well. And like I said, two of them are basically like big time coaches now. That's a big thing as well.
What was in the water at Hurstville? What was their I don't know, the secret to their success? Were they just a blessed generation, or was there just something about the club that really got the passion, the pride? What was it in your opinion?
I think basically, in our area down this way, I think they just got lucky as a generational thing as well. I think that one of those teams that I think Rudin played for, and maybe Moric and all that, and there's a few other guys. I'm not sure who they were. I think that age group went from under 6s to about under 12s or something, or even further, without even losing a game before they went off to summer of hire and all that, sort of make all that. But just sort of those sorts of things. And who knows, those dad coaches yelling and screaming the old-fashioned way. I don't know. I don't know, but I have to say that. Yeah, it's just quite funny. And we also had a lot of kids who played in our association. We've got a pathway to NPL, which my son talked about. A lot of kids do make the NPL to SAP programs now in New South Wales and also to other levels as well. So I don't know, but it's something that's good. Hopefully we'll get more, but it recently hasn't been there, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, John, I did notice, and we did post it up, the change.org initiative that you're supporting in terms of infrastructure to help you guys as well down the track. I understand Cars Bush Park has got its limitations, so and there's a recent move to Penzos Park with your NPL outfits. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct.
And I noticed you put out a message to your members about supporting an initiative behind the state government. Is there an opportunity for you to reinforce that message here?
Oh yeah, well that was the thing that was basically the reason we forced that message was basically that Strata Jubilee Oval down here at Cogger, which is not far from here and not far from Cars Park, which is only a couple of kilometres away. Was Cars Bush Park. There's a pool there, and to cut a long story short is that it's been closed for a while and people have been lobbying to get it back. But to make it happen, they have to basically make it a more of a multi-sports thing. So what would happen? They would have to make a car park bigger. We would lose so much ground and things like that. So Next Strata is something, a multi-stadium, which would have all sorts of facilities and things like that, which would accommodate a lot of sports. And maybe in the long term, we might be able to get something like that to help us out with. We're not too sure, but they have to sort of jump into line in the government grants to be second or third from that level to get that money. So that's the reason we supported it, and it's right near our area, and it would have been a great thing. So things are still happening around the place there. There is a petition to sign, and yeah, that people know about that, and the council's also backing it behind us as well. So we have got Pences now for our NPL program. I don't know if you've seen the pictures there. The kids training on it. It's a brand new facility there, basically a $7 million facility, and with the Georgia Zipper Council, took a lot of time and a lot of meetings and a lot of effort and a lot of talking behind the scenes. Yeah, that's it right there. Exactly. Yeah, it's brand new. It's got unbelievable facilities, and it's perfect for NPL football. And it's got to be grassroots on there as well, and everybody else is going to be used. It's not only for that. But yeah, we've got an agreement for a couple of years there now, and hopefully it might be a long-term thing for us as well. So we're quite lucky and quite appreciative of Georgia Council.
Well, congratulations. These conversations. Tonch, we know ourselves, you know, you've been involved at FV, and I've been for many years at North Geelong. But these conversations are not easy to have, and they take years. They take years to have and to accomplish. You know, even just marginal accomplishments takes 2 or 3 years, but significant ones like this, I'd hate to think maybe 5 to 7 years, if I'm not wrong there, John.
Yeah, well, I've got to say, I have to appreciate the other club that was supporting us doing that, was St George City, and there's a guy there by the name of Steve Matthews, really was a person we worked together to help get this and this facility. And like, it's got there, you can see, it's got a gymnasium, it's got a basketball court, it's got medical center, it's got, you know, it's got offices, it's got electrical scoreboards, it's got 2 dressing rooms, it's got air conditioning. It's just crazy what it's got. Yeah, but it did take a lot of time, I have to say. Yeah, it took a while, and we're quite fortunate, and like I said, the club has moved so much forward to where it was, and like our NPL program was playing somewhere else. But yeah, so it's a huge step up for us for that, to get that ground.
Real case of if you build it, they'll come. Yeah.
Yes, mate. Yes, we played a game there on the weekend. The stadium was full, which was great. We had a trial.
Oh, lovely! Great to hear, mate.
Look, John, out of interest, what sort of crowd do you get for a game? And where's the senior team? Is it NPL 2 or NPL 3? Actually, there's 4 NPL divisions, isn't there?
There's 4. Yeah, there's 4. Yeah, well, some we'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, it's NPL 4. They haven't changed the format yet. We'll be NPL 3 next year, regardless where you come. Yeah, they're changing it around in that. There's NPL 1, 2, and 3 for our junior base. NPL 1, 2, and 3. There used to be 4. Oh, it's a different setup, and then it's NPL 1, 2, and 3 and 4. We're just basically still in 4. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, that situation when we were 6 or 7 years ago, we had 2 communities separated. The NPL program literally really went down the hill, and they were in NPL 2 and all the way down. And the great work from our committee, like to say hello to all of them over there, they do a great job. And without them, this what's happened in the last 5 or 6 years would not have happened without this support.
Yeah.
I have so much respect for them and the sacrifices they put in. It's just amazing where we've come from 120 or so to where we are now, and the ground we've got and what happened moving forward. It's been fantastic.
John, before we move on and talk about the Martin Knežević Cup, which is coming up, we do know Richard Plesh as the vice president. You're the president. Your son Paul Gargro, who's going to be joining us very shortly. He's the technical director. Oh, we think we've just lost him. And my question was going to be, who else is in the committee at Zagreb Hurstville? But unfortunately, we seem to have lost him. We're going to try and get John Gargro back on the deck. In the meantime, here he is. He's about to join us. I think he's very close to joining us. Where is he? Where is he?
Just put his
Here we go. 3, 2, 1, and he's back. There he is.
Sorry, guys.
Insert more coins.
Yeah. we were talking about just before technology cut us off. Mate, who's in the committee? I was about to say, give him a plug. Give him a shameless plug.
Yeah, well, it's basically, like I said myself, I've been, and my wife, Gordana, she's probably, her dad used to be president here, and that's how I met her through the ranks. She's Miss Zagreb as well. She's actually our NPL secretary, and she does the gear. She does multiple jobs. Yeah. And you got Tony Chavard as our treasurer and the social media stuff, and he does multiple jobs as well. His wife Marina, and you also have Marina Chorvic. She's related to Ante, and she's the secretary of our association, and she does all that work down that way. And they have the
Brilliant.
Bussell family, Murray and Tanya, who involved that committee, and you have Richie Plesher involved that as well. So that's basically they're the guys we've been quite strange that we've been together now for probably 6 years, this committee, and people have come and gone a little bit, but the basis of it staying together, and we've become a bit of a family, you could call it, and we always see each other, we socialise together as much as well as everything else. Our daughters are friends now and stuff like that, so it's a good committee, and we're quite lucky to have everybody.
It's like an organic thing. It just all round the football, the society, community.
Yes, it's very much the Zagreb family. We call it the Zagreb family. I don't know what it is, but
that explains
party and drink and sing a lot. So that's what
that explains why at every Miss Crow at the tourneys, you can't get a table because you guys take over.
Because it becomes a family affair, Josipa. That's exactly what it is.
That's what the Zagreb family, mate. Zagreb family, I call it.
Well, this year, hopefully, all things going well, you guys won't have to travel too far because it will be in Sydney. Looking forward to that later on this year.
Yeah.
But mate, before that happens, we've got a really important. You guys have got a very, very important thing coming up. Over this weekend or coming the weekend after the Martin Knežević Cup. There it is, Sunday, February 20th. Tell us a little bit more about this and how did this first start? How did the Martin Knežević Cup first start?
Well, Martin passed away a while ago now. That's one of the Martin Knežević Cup's been going, I think, 23, 24 years now. Yeah, there's Martin there. And he passed away very quickly and tragically. And I think it was Nikola Prusaks, who was close friends. So Tommy Prusak and was really best friends with him, Nikola's son. And he came up and said to me, we should, instead of just doing the normal times we used to do per year, we just sort of started calling it that. It's a slow build up to it. But now over the years, it's sort of like COVID has sort of ruined it a bit. It's a bit slower this year, but big one's already full. The Masters needs a few, and Veterani needs a few, and the girls is a little bit slow. But I think it's because of COVID. But we have to actually cut it because we just can't get it done in one day. So it's really big on the day. So it started like that, and it's grown massively. And it's a big day on that day, which usually starts about 8:30 in the morning, goes to about 7 at night. But after that finishes, we go to about 12 o'clock at night. We usually bring a band down there or some music down there. We don't stop, so you know what it's like. Yeah, right. So it's a great day for the families to come down. There's food, there's drinks, there's all that sort of stuff like that on the day. There's cooking and people just come down, and we invite everybody to come down, and anybody else that's Masters, a veteran, like to join in. They've got all those details there. Yeah, so it's become a big thing for us every year. It's a huge day.
I can attest to that, Tonchi. When I lived in Sydney for 1 year, and one of my introductory events to Sydney was to come to the Martin Knežević Cup, and it was a fantastic day. Yeah.
There you go. So if you've got a group of 6 of you and wanting to join, contact Johnny there on 0419 011 240 or visit the website hurstvillezfc.com. So that's Johnny 0419 011 240 or visit the website there hurstvillezfc.com. A very, very we talk about the Geelong Addy Cup, Josipa, but this one's has got just as much prestige and just as much history, that's for sure. Now, what we might do, John, we might actually take a little bit of a break. When we return, we're going to bring your son, who's also the technical director, on, Paul, to talk us a little bit about the technical side of things.
Right, no problem. See you soon.
Okay. Don't go away, folks. You're listening and tuning in to the Oz Crow Soccer Show. It is episode 4, and a very, very big thank you to none other than Oz Crow Imports, tonight's major sponsor. Welcome back to the Ozcro Soccer Show. You are tuning into episode 4. It's all about the Zagreb Hurstville. We've just spoken to the president, John Gagro, and surely it's going to be, we'll talk about family affair at Zagreb Hurstville. His son, who is the technical director, he's going to be joining us shortly. But Josip, you wanted to say a few things about one of our business sponsors, which we just saw there. Plemer, tell us your own experience about Plemer. Oh, my apologies. He's just
Yeah, I'm mute, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, you upset with me?
Dosadio me a toy glass. No, I'm only kidding. Actually, speaking of glass, I've started to lose mine. You know, I've been running around on the coaching thing and trying to lose it. I'm trying to get that husky voice. Valentine's Day is just around the corner.
Oh, yeah, watch out.
The Jenna, you know.
Mimi, run.
It's not helping. I think I'm losing my voice. I think she's put something in my coffee. It's not about me.
I wanted to mention Plemer. I've had a play around with the app in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and it really is a well organised, put together app. The makers of it have put a lot of thought into it, and it's very logical in its presence. You can go into just official news that comes out of mainstream media, and you can get your tidbits about what's going on about Croatia or the Croatian diaspora and things like that. But there's also a community tab, and in the community tab, people post their events, post what they're up to, whether it be a fundraiser or sporting events.
Yeah.
And then there's also crowdfunding. So if you're an innovative entrepreneur type and you're looking for a little bit of support from the community, great place to reach out and start to let the people know in the Croatian community about your ideas. And we know, like, look at the innovations from Rimac, you know, look, that's just one example of Croatian innovation, right? So, and that all starts with a bit of crowdfunding. So, yeah.
It does. It does.
Use the app.
Absolutely. And we talk about, you know, soccer being a medium that binds us together, brings the Croatian community together. Well, let's start using technology as well. And, the Plemer app is an absolute beauty. Now, look, let's moving away from that and onto our guests tonight. We're bringing on the younger Gagro, Paul Gagro, who's joining us. Paul, thank you very much for being a part of tonight's show. Dad John's there. Well, actually, we should say President John's there because
Thanks.
Yeah, so Paul, you're the technical director there at the club. Tell us, we spoke to Alex Trninic from O'Connor Knights a few weeks back, and he outlined what his role as a technical director there was. What's your role involved at Zagreb Hurstville?
Yeah, so like everyone else, I have a few roles at this club. So I do play as well. So I'm first grade captain, so I'm in the first grade NPL side, but we haven't, historically, we've never had youth. So Zagreb Federation or State League, whatever you want to call it, NPL now, the seniors has been around 20s and first grade or reserve grade for 40 odd years, but we've never had youth. So essentially, a couple of years ago, 2019, there was a big restructure happening in New South Wales. They basically said to be an NPL, seniors, anything, you have to have youth. So we're a bit of a crossroads on what to do because facilities, funding, all those questions were coming up, and kind of just said to the club, like, we have to do this. This is an opportunity to grow. And I put my hand up. I had my coaching badges, I had my coaching license. So I said, look, I'm happy to step up and take it. Obviously it's my club, so I was motivated to do that, and I've done that. So I'll talk a little bit about setting that up. But yeah, my role is essentially working with the coaches. Obviously, we work with hiring the coaches, setting up programs. Obviously, all other technical directors and clubs be very much the same. So that goes from trials all the way to setting up training programs. And then my role is actually to just basically there every game day, monitoring, giving feedback to coaches, working with them, and trying to grow our program, make it as professional and as a good environment for kids as possible. So
if we can maybe get you just moving a little bit closer to the microphone, it looks like you're in the bat cave or something like that. There's an echo there.
It's called the home bar. That's what all the players call it. They come in, they go up, and they actually come up. They come out and come back here. They call it the home bar. It's a bar area.
It's a bit of a hangout spot. Yeah,
a bit of a hangout.
I'll talk a bit louder for you. I'll talk a bit clearer. Yep.
Yeah. Josipa, you had a question to ask Paul.
Yeah, I wanted to, with regards to your playing, your schedule, and then fitting in monitoring kids and the junior coaches and the way they're going about their business. How extensive of a time output is it for you?
Yeah, it's very extensive. It's funny though, I feel like my work is really the off season. Obviously, speaking to lots of coaches, trying to bring as many quality players as we can down to the club. It's the trials, getting programs set up, organising goalkeeper coaching, strength and conditioning, all that kind of stuff for the youth players, and trying to make the program as efficient as possible. It's funny, when the season actually starts, it's probably less work for me, and that's, you know, as a player, because coaching takes a lot, and I've got to give credit to our coaches. I mean, all coaches in NPL, it's 3 times a week, it's a lot of travel, but with my playing commitments, it's just too hard to coach a team. So for me, it's fantastic to do the behind the scenes work and get that, the better work that I do in the off season obviously takes a little bit away from my work rate during the year. But yeah, on game days I love it because, yeah, as we said, we're at Penshurst Park, so we're there all day. I watch football and just relax, talk to coaches. I try to relax. I get a little bit stressed sometimes, but I try to relax and and then just relax during the day, and I play at night. So the schedule works. It is a lot, but yeah, it does work.
It is worthwhile though, isn't it?
It does, yeah. Yeah, it does work well. Go ahead.
Gives you lots of reward, you know, like to see what you've been trying to influence and trying to have an impact on, and then watching it come together. It's nice to see.
It is, yeah, and I can kind of touch on that. I mean, as I said, the big restructure was happening, and 4 or 5 clubs actually lost their license in New South Wales that year. So it was a very scary, kind of stressful time for us. It means so much to us, obviously, that NPL side of things. Me growing up in the club, all my friends, you know, playing together, the same group of boys for a long time. So yeah, it was a no-brainer for me saying, yeah, we're going to do youth, and we basically, you know, we kept our license and we got youth, which is fantastic. So that was, I think we got our license in September of 2019, and a couple of weeks later, we were at Cars Park having trials for youth. So it moved very, very quickly, and it was difficult. It absolutely was difficult, especially that first year, because, as you know, a lot of other teams already had youth programs, so they've got players retaining, etc. For us, it was really starting from scratch, obviously. So luckily enough, we had our association, which was strong, and we were able to push a few boys through there, which was great. And there's obviously a pathway there, which is important for us. And I think that might be contributing to the extra numbers coming through, because there is a pathway now to NPL. So again, they work one and the same to grow. But combined with that 2020 season was very, very difficult. Just starting up, the facilities kind of new and get everything ready, and obviously a COVID ravaged year. But from 2020 to 2021, so last year, massive improvement. Just quickly, my goal, I guess, was to be one of the most improved clubs in NPL. That's all we could do. Wasn't too hard, given that we were kind of near the bottom in the first year. But last year, massive improvement. There was a restructure this year. So last year was NPL 1 and 2 in youth in New South Wales. Now they do 1, 2, and 3. We weren't too far of actually getting into 2. So for me, I mean, if that happens, after 2 years getting into NPL 2, I would have been over the moon. It would have been a huge accomplishment. Felt a little bit short, but you know, just feedback from other coaches, technical directors, from other clubs, just coming and saying, wow, what you guys have done in a short space of time from, you know, year 1 to year 2, just it's blowing people away. So credit to the club, the coaches and everyone, because yeah, the program's gone well, and I think you're going to be better this year, to be honest.
Well done.
What's the support like from the community? You know, small businesses, the general Croatian communities. There any one of the Croatian clubs up in Sydney that you know does help out, whether it's financially or logistically with meetings and functions and things like that. How do you go about getting your support for the club?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, basically, it's very difficult. It might sound strange to say this, but as soon as they see people say Herstal Zagreb or Herstal ZFC, you just don't get those non-Croatian sponsors. So we have to thank our Croatian sponsors for that. So we have people like GBK, you see it back there, and that's my niece. My niece, actually, Angela, runs one of the biggest steel fixing companies in New South Wales.
More family connections there.
Yeah, she's a big sponsor. She's been massive. We've got Handy Creek, been sponsored for us 3 or 4 years. We've got Mercon, Mirko Pulic is cousins with Adrian Pulic. Yeah, he's one of our sponsors as well. Yep. We've got Daleka, small goods place that sponsors our food and things like that. And then new sponsors we've got on this year. There's a few more. We've got a few sponsors on Mercon, another Croatian guy. Kaligo, another Croatian boy, sponsored us as well. We also got Carbiz, another company which Croatian boy actually found for us who works there, and the guy was actually Rescon they're called, yeah, and also VAD Constructions there also as well. So and plus for our association, a lot of people, and we used to have Croatian Club Punch Bowl. We used to be our base where we used to do all our organisational things and have all our presentations and all our gatherings and that. But as you know, that's kind of closed down now.
Yeah. So what's happened there? That's been bought.
Concord.
The Concord, is it? Concord
Yeah.
RSL is that up and running? Is that?
No, Concord has just been bought for a fair bit amount, and that's just starting now. The process is going to take, 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, they reckon approval over the course of this year, and then the build is a year and a half or so. So probably they reckon end of 2024. So it's a bit of a slow build in between, which is, I mean, look, it's going to be great. It's going to be a new facility, and we're all excited for it. It's the same people obviously coming across from Punchbowl, and we had a good relationship with Punchbowl. Obviously, we did all our events there, presentations. So there's a bit of a gap in the next few years, but yeah, once that's up and running, yeah, we're excited to continue our partnership with them. And there's actually there's a few soccer fields and stuff around there, so maybe we can do some kind of fundraisers or things. We obviously can't go over there because it's not in our association, in our kind of jurisdiction, but we can do a few things. So yeah, we'll definitely look to have a good relationship.
Yeah, that's the blue jersey there. That's the last sponsor.
Yeah.
Paul, Mr. President alluded to the conversation earlier about players of the past that have come through the doors of the esteemed club. As a TD, have you got your eyes set on a particular couple of talents that might be pushing for a state representation or even national?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's hard to call out any individual players. I'll probably call out our under. If I look at some of the youth players, some of the young boys, I mean, there's a few parts of this. There's some of the young boys coming through from our association coming through. They're in for example, our 15s teams have 4 or 5, maybe 6 players that have come through all the way from under 6s and stay with the club, and they're doing a great job. There's a few boys there that are ready to go and have been with the club, so we're harnessing them, and obviously watching them grow through the club is fantastic. We're finding the lower age groups, we're getting a lot of really good players, because the St George Association, just to give you some context, is massive. There is a few teams though, so we compete with the 2 St Georges, we're in higher league, and then we compete with Rockdale, who's in the top league. And then you've got the Shire though, which is obviously just a little bit further south, but they're the only NPL team there, and that association is even bigger. So there's a lot of kids to choose from, and we're finding some of the young age groups coming through. There's some little superstar players coming through, and we just want to hold on to these guys as long as we can. But I mean, if the higher leagues come, and they are coming, it's hard. It's hard to see. It's very hard to keep them. But it's good signs for us. So for us, I guess it's hard to say where that next step's going to come, but we're promoting a lot of players. And it is hard for us as coaches. I mean, you develop these guys, take them club football, spend a couple of years, and they go to NPL1 clubs. But I mean, that's what we're here for, right? We're here to develop players, and it's a good sign. It does impact your squads a little bit. That's just the nature of how it is, depending on what division you're in. But yeah, for us, the next step is obviously promoting to a high NPL league, and believe me, there's about 4 or 5 in almost every age group that went from us this year to higher league. So that's the next step for us, and we're seeing that consistently happen. And then the next component of it is probably in the seniors, because we only have 20s in first grade. We'd always have to poach players from other things. So now we're starting to see a good group of boys from 18s and 20s really starting to push into first grade and have a good 20 squad this year. And what we really want to start seeing is some of these boys staying in our NPL program all the way through, and then coming up into the seniors, which we haven't had for a long time. So that's very important.
Yeah, good to see you got the vision there, mate.
Well, first up, we've got the, let's talk about some of the things happening at the club. There's a pre-season friendly happening this weekend, and this is the NPL squads, is it? Is that all the way from the juniors all the way through the seniors? And also there's a good little opportunity there to see some of the sponsors there for the club this year. So that's great to see. But Majors Bay Reserve in Concord. So probably just around the corner from the new Croatian club.
Literally, we're good to see the club. They opened it up, and you literally can look out the window and you can see that.
Brilliant.
Well, nice.
Brilliant. That's awesome.
We would like to have that same sort of setup. Hopefully one day.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. So right from 9 o'clock with the under 13s, then culminating with the first grade happening at 7 p.m. But registrations, that's happening now as well. Tell us more, Paul.
Yeah, so that's more for the association. Obviously, NPL is done, so the window's closed in New South Wales. So all our squads are locked up and ready to go. We start actually in 2 weeks. So we've got our trial this week against Inter Lions, as you saw, and our first game is at home on the 19th of Feb at Penshurst against Double Chill. So we're ready to go. So we've been training. All the boys have been starting up pretty much from early January, or trained up to Christmas in early January. Now the association registration is really starting, so that's where the focus is for the club behind the scenes, is getting all that sorted.
Yeah, thank you. For the association, it's important now. This is all starting now, February, March, and they start in April here in Sydney, about 18 rounds. So it's all up on the Herschel Zagreb website.com. And if you go on there, get all the information, where to go, where to link up and sign. Start looking for kids and girls and boys and girls from out there from all the ages, say 6s into the 16s, and then it's send your memory out. So that's all out there ready to go. So just to get information on our website.